That's good.
Hello, Medyhne.
Hi. Lovely to be
Hello.
here.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. Thank you so much for agreeing. So Medyhne's in Australia, and I saw her speaking with Ian Welsh the other day, and you know I've spoken. So I'm Jackie White, Inspirations Positive Living, and I saw Medyhne speaking with Ian Welsh the other day. It was so interesting, all what they were talking about, just exactly the sort of subjects I would love to talk about. Um, And so two main ones that I was very interested in was what Ian said about the moon. And I wondered what you felt about that, Medyhne. But I'll ask you to introduce yourself in a minute. But just saying this is what we're going to be talking about. And obviously then you asked Ian a question about a princess that used to be in this country. And we think passed away, but then there's a question mark over that. And so we want to talk about that as well. Um, so Medyhne, could you introduce yourself just a bit and what you've been doing and you're a singer, author. So yeah, could you just let us know a bit about you and that beautiful background? I've just got to mention that. It looks lovely with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. Well, I looked actually at all my backgrounds and I thought, I tuned in, I said, what would Jackie like? And I picked up that this was the one that you'd like the best. And then it matches your top, which is incredible. So, so yeah.
Incredible. I love it.
It's a very actually Atlantean, Lemurian type energy. So you probably resonate with that. Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful, I love it. That pearlescent colors is something I really love. So my name's Medyhne Lavarkin and I'm from Australia. I grew up in Victoria, southern state of Australia. Now I'm living in Queensland, which is a northern state of Australia. And I do energy healing work. So I do sessions with people and I also do mentoring with people, and I have for about 30 years I've been doing this, and I work with a Patreon community. I've set up a Patreon community where I share information, but I think for the last few years I've been really trying to raise consciousness and raise exposing truth and sort of really exposing what's been going on the planet. You know, in Australia here, we've been quite asleep for some time. You know, things are changing now, but, you know, you've needed to really sort of step up and stand up and speak up, because these things that are happening that we know about, you know, the globalist agendas, all those sorts of things that have been very, very suppressed here, very censored. And so really, I really activated a YouTube channel called Arise Humanity, and I've been interviewing, you know, some amazing people like yourself, key people around the world that have a lot of information and knowledge to share about what's really happening. I think we've got to really speak up at the moment and stand up and speak our truth. In terms of my background, I am very creative. Like you mentioned, I love writing music and recording songs, and I used to do concerts quite a few years ago, and they were songs that were channeled, and they were healing songs. So people would like burst into tears as they were doing their internal healing. So I've got some of them on my website, and I also write books. So it's just all the creative things. I paint. I've got an artwork section in my website which I've just upgraded, and so I'm really excited. I just got a soul commission from someone to paint a painting about their soul. So that's really exciting. And I'm passionate about, you know, just really helping the transition of the planet at the moment into a higher frequency, into, you know, in my own humble way, small way. I'm just trying to contribute to helping this evolution of humanity, you know, this huge transition that we're all going through, we're all experiencing. And I'm just trying to tap into all the ways that I can contribute at the moment. I have with my Patreon community a soul mastery group where we do planetary healing fortnightly on both ourselves and on the planet, different parts that need healing. Got a community chat, and that was set up because I knew that people were feeling isolated around the world. And I thought, if I set up a chat, you know, people can come together. And you know, at one stage it was quite big. It's a bit smaller now, but you know, people really appreciate and value it because we're also like-minded, and we're all on the same page, and we've all got things that we would love to share with our soul tribe that, you know, we can't often share with the people around us, or the family, or the friends, you know, that we perhaps used to.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing, Medyhne. I'm love art as well. I've not written a book or anything, but I do love art. So yeah, that's interesting.
Beautiful.
So thank you for that. So interesting, and you are doing an amazing job. So that's really lovely. So yeah, shall we start? Can I ask you a few questions? You're happy
totally.
for me?
Go for it.
Wonderful. Okay, so Ian spoke while he was speaking to you, and I used to speak with someone in Canada, Franco De Nicola. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No.
Amazing, amazing man. He passed away about just over a year ago, probably. But he was incredible. And he used to say all the time that the moon was not real and that it had been put in place so many thousand years ago. It caused an awful lot of injury and even death at the time it came in. And we've gotten used to it now. But when Ian was talking to you the other day, I think he mentioned it with me as well, but he said that it's no longer needed.
Correct. That's true.
What was your thoughts around that? Was that new to you, or had you already heard that yourself?
His most recent information I haven't heard, which was fascinating, but I always had a suspicion that the moon was fake. Like, it wasn't just a planetary thing that was there for us. There were many reasons for that. One of them was intuition. Another was things like, you know, my mother was a psychiatric social worker. And, you know, I don't personally, you know, agree with the whole, obviously, the psychiatric institution. However, she would say to me when I was young, when she'd go to work, that whenever there was a full moon, that they would just go bananas. All the patients would go bananas. That they would totally lose it. Now, there's a reason for that. It's not just tides and, you know, water, things happening with the water. You know, there's another reason. And it is because the moon has been nefarious. You know, it hasn't been a positive influence on us and on the planet. And it's been a control mechanism. So when you think about that, we have been enslaved for thousands of years on this planet. Yes. It's been a higher intelligence that has been in charge of that. You know, you know, the reptilians, the Orions, or whatever you want to call them. You know, these alien beings, and they're not silly. You know, they've you know, consciously, clearly thought about, you know, how can we do this? And they've thought, well, we could have a, you know, a planetary system nearby that's, you know, controlling them, and you know, it makes sense that they would do something like that to stay in control of humanity. We're such a key Earth is such a key place for the cosmos for many reasons, and so you know, they had a real vested interest in keeping us controlled and enslaved. And I personally would look at the moon in the sky many times and I say, that doesn't look real, because it just looked like it'd been, you know, placed there. So that was just my instinctive, intuitive, you know, feeling as well. And so what Ian says is the same, basically the same thing, that it has been placed there for nefarious purposes. But now, because we, you know, God has proclaimed that we're moving into this higher realm, this higher transition phase, both Mother Earth and humanity, that the moon is no longer relevant. And it's important to remember too that it wasn't just placed there because it's going to be, nefarious and we're victims or anything like that. It was placed there because that was part of the learning experience, that what it presented to us as humanity was part of what we needed to learn, that shadow aspect, the darkness and the light, in order to grow and evolve. So, there's important reason why it was there, but now it's becoming redundant because we're going to a higher dimensional frequency. And so Ian says, which is just brilliant what he's brought through, that it's been actually taken out. And when he tuned into it, he said it was taken out through a portal, taken to 368, the previous universe, which is a universe still where there's that more lower three-dimensional type learning, so that they can continue to learn their lessons with the use of this to bring up the things they need to bring up in order to evolve and grow. So there's a reason that it's there, but we don't need it anymore. And so it's been taken away. And he also says there are 2 sons coming forward soon, probably within the year, that will be completely bringing in new energy. And, if you look at the sun, I look at the sun now, and it is so incredibly bright. It is huge, and it's so bright. And the light many years ago was yellow, and now it's a bright white. It's completely, he says it's no longer a sun, but it's, this energy. So, that to me, it has changed. I've seen it change, and it makes sense that if they're going to be making these, if the galactic alliance, the beings, the divine has proclaimed that we're going to shift into high energies, they're doing it in a way that is not going to be something that destroys humanity. They have to do it in a way that we're able to integrate. And so they've created all this light coming onto the planet now, and this incredible light that's getting brighter and brighter, and that is to transition us into being able to integrate and accept the energies of 2 suns when they arrive.
Amazing. He says that the moon is 900 times larger than the Earth.
That is fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. And
we've heard...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
It's just so interesting that everything that we thought is now being proved to be inaccurate, and that we have to throw everything that we used as our foundation for our understanding in the bin. And it's like we need to be able to be open to seeing the world in a completely different way now, that is going to really expand us, but also to stretch our our understanding of what our existence and reality is.
Absolutely. So when you say I didn't realize, I didn't pick up that he said it's actually moved to 368, because we're 369, but we're moving to 370.
Yes. That we're not there yet. It's a process,
Yes.
And it's so important, at the moment to really do everything that we can to work on our own evolution, to go inward, and to raise our frequency, so that we are able to more seamlessly be able to, go into these new energies that are so beautiful. We're going into a beautiful world. It's going to be really joyful, and really loving and abundant. But we need to shift our energy and our frequency out of the 3D energies, so that we're able to, go into that and access it. We don't want to be held back, so that's why it's so important at the moment to really work on yourself.
Absolutely. You've heard of Dolores Cahill?
Oh, she's amazing. Yes, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
I saw a quote from, it might not have been her quote, but it was posted on her page the other day. We are aiming to be so at peace that nothing will trigger us.
That's true. Absolutely. It just, that's more about, 3D. It's more that, we have still, soul wounding, because anytime we're triggered by something, it indicates that there's something there we still need to heal. And, that's
Yes.
often from not only this lifetime, but other previous lifetimes.
Yeah.
And often at the really epicenter of what we need to heal, it's the emotional body, because the emotional body can carry a lot of wounding. And we all have had to experience the density of living in 3D. And it hasn't necessarily been easy for us at all. It's been a real challenge for pretty much everyone, I think. And even at the moment, with everything that's happening, it's of course challenging to us. It's not something that we're used to. This is all new territory that we're heading into now.
Even looking at your background can raise our vibration, to be honest. Probably looking at mine as well, because that's a power symbol. But, looking at your picture, that is a high vibration picture. It really is. So that's, when people think, how can I raise my vibration? Laughter, looking for the best in everyone and everything. But looking at something like that visually is just raising I feel it's raising my vibration just looking at it. I love it.
Oh, that's so good. That's beautiful. I love the dolphin in there. To me, dolphins and whales are so incredibly profound, and they swim up to me a lot here when I swim in Australia. They'll just swim up to me. And one time I was swimming in the open ocean, and I just had this fin coming towards me, and I thought, oh, I hope that's not a shark. It was a dolphin, and it started swimming around me and flipping a fish. And they seem to do circles around, which is, a frequency thing that they do. It's very joyful. And then another time I was swimming with my son quite a few years ago, and another one swam up to and was swimming around us. And my son was a bit nervous. He said, oh, is it all right? And I said, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And again, it was flipping a fish and swimming around. And then a little while ago, I was doing a show with I don't know if you're Tarot by Janine and John Claude. And just prior to doing that, I was walking along this waterway, and 5 dolphins started following me and followed me all the way home. And I felt that they were energizing me for that, because it went out to 90,000 people or 100,000 or something. So I felt that they were energizing me for that. So they're definitely working with my energy. I work with a Dolphin Star Temple as well. And I have actually, for my kitchen window where I live here on an island in Queensland, I can see the dolphins swimming. So it's lovely.
That's incredible. Wonderful. When I went swimming last year, one day, we wouldn't see dolphins where we go swimming, but I was just floating on the waves because the waves were so gentle, and I was just floating. And then beyond my feet, a seal's head come up, massively. I know, and I just couldn't relate. And I didn't know if they could be, like, he looked really gentle, but I didn't know about the temperament of a seal, or if so I just gently put my feet down and walked to one side and said to my friend I was with, did you see that? Anyway, came back up again. And we got out, but it was just a joy, actually. Yeah. So I looked up what the sea.
They're like the dogs or the puppies of the ocean, seals, aren't they? They're so sort of fun and playful. And I reckon he was there. He knew your energy, and he would have been fine because he was reading your energy, and it was helping and working with you, and everything's in divine alignment. We actually have dugongs or manatees here. I haven't seen one because they're very shy, but they are around here as well, and they're very spiritual and quite sort of sacred.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Right, we'll get on with some more questions. So yeah, you say this, he's saying it's gone through a portal back to the universe behind us then.
Yes.
Already,
correct.
but we can still see it.
Yes, it's a hologram. The one that's there now.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was at a talk yesterday about the tarot cards. Very interesting talk. But she brought the moon into it all the time, how she works with the moon's energies, and how the cards are so connected to the moon phases, and what card you pick, you know, like we just what the girl I was with, you know, we just watched your with Ian, and like nudging each other. Is that right?
Well, it's interesting, is it? You know, I honor everyone's opinion because, you know, we've got to be
Yes.
honoring and respectful. But, you know, to me, I didn't feel like the energy of the moon was a positive thing. But, you know, I guess everyone's different and they have their own interpretation or perception of things. And, you know, it can differ.
Yeah.
Mm.
We've been brought up to believe anyway that it is a good thing, and that's a good thing anyway, isn't it?
Well, that's true. That's true. You know, I think that if we realized a lot of the things many years ago that we realize now that are being exposed, you know, all sort of the shadow stuff and the darkness on the planet, it may have just been way too much for everyone. You know, I think that everything's divine timing, and we're at a point now that we can partly because of the pandemic, you know, as well, that we can view the world in a completely different way, and that we're just being really pushed to open ourselves up to new ways of perceiving everything, and to just let go of all this you know, indoctrination and brainwashing that we've been under.
And honestly, it wasn't until I went to a talk with Mark Devlin the other day, well, a few months ago. He was just up the road here in Totton. And he talked about what a slave, when we think of a slave, what that looks like. So you're thinking chains, hard work. Actually, what we do every day, 9 to 5, or some much more than that, is this today's slave, really. You're working for a big company to get a bigger company, you know. He explained it so well. We don't look at that as being slaves, but when you look at it and how we're taxed, there's so many things that's really makes you realize how we are enslaved a bit, really.
Oh, 100% enslaved. Yes, we have been. And, you know, we're breaking out of that now, but it's like the dark are not silly enough to make it like visible to us that we're enslaved. You know, they're not going to do it that way because it's too obvious. We'll go, oh, I don't want to be enslaved. And, you know, we'll try and break out and da, da, da. So they did it in a much more sort of subtle way, that they did it through money. So there's this wonderful metaphor where they said that they would bring in this thing, and it's not the money itself that is the issue, but it's the way that it has been used. And so money has been the form of enslavement for it. It's through this, and we think we have to work to earn money. But the way it's set up, the money itself is enslaving us into a system where we are, all our energy goes into working for someone else, often in things that we don't like. And then we end up not having time to do the spiritual work, to do the inner work, to really evolve. And that's the whole point of it. They didn't want us to be empowered. They didn't want us to be, you know, really spiritually growing. They wanted us to be stuck in that system, really basically just trying to struggle for survival and to keep ahead, you know. And that, of course, the money puts incredible burdens on you know, your mental health, your emotional health, all those things, and then all those bodies are impacted. And you know, this was just their way of the invisible enslavement that we've all been experiencing.
And back when I was working full time, I wouldn't have even considered having to give my job up because it was so vital, or it seemed so vital, that I had to work to earn that because of the mortgage, because of what you've, you know, got around you, the setup. So yeah, you totally understand that is the enslavement, really. But you don't look at it like that. You just look, that is the way life is. But it is all changing. We are evolving.
Yes. Well, that's the cultural conditioning, isn't it? That we have been told over and over and over again that you have to have a job, you have to contribute to society, you know, da 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 da. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you, and da 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 da. You know, it's just so endemic in all the brainwashing that's over and over and over, and it's just quite unconscious with a lot of people because it's so deeply indoctrinated.
You know, everything you watch on the telly, television, is increasing that as well. If you really look at you know, I was very fortunate. I worked with a teacher when I was a learning support assistant. I worked with a teacher that said to the children one day, always look for the lie in the advert, because there will always be a lie. And so then that just started me, and I've always done it. You look for the lie in the advert, because every advert, you know, there is an untruth.
Well, there's an agenda, isn't there, that they want to sell their product. They want to make more profits, you know, and then they're part of this whole enslavement system too, that they have to do that to stay afloat in order to stay part of the system, you know, particularly, you know, the smaller businesses and everything. So, you know, it's just on every level it has been. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll go to the subject, if that's all right, of, I mean, this isn't going on to, for me, it's not going on to YouTube. So if we can talk about Princess Diana.
Sure.
Because,
I might have to
yeah,
edit my version when I put it on my YouTube, but that's all good.
absolutely. Well, I'll send, yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, when Ian, oh, you asked Ian if that was right, and then he did the rods as a test. So, I've heard from a lot of people that she's actually, you know, still with us.
Oh, yes, I believe so.
And you asked Ian that, yeah, and he did the rods, and it confirmed. So
Absolutely.
where's your thoughts on that? Because why I contacted you then was to say, could you honestly believe I'm 4 days older than Princess Diana, so I feel so aligned to how she ever felt emotionally and everything. I just loved her. And so could she ever really have left her boys, was the question I was asking, because you just could not do that to your boys or to your children, could you?
I hear you. I absolutely hear you, but I feel that she was in such a viper's nest, you know, that she had, you
Yes.
know, the queen was, you know, shape-shifting into a reptilian in front of her, I think around the time of the wedding, you know, to Charles and things, and exposing who they really were. And so she was in this viper's nest, and, you know, she knew that they were going to try to take her out. And so the choice was to hang around and be taken out, or to you know, there's no point her going under, because that's not going to help them anyway. So it's like it's sort of like she had no choice. I think that she felt that she had to do this in order to stay alive at whatever cost, because otherwise she wasn't going to be able to avoid these you know, assassination attempts.
Right. Right.
And
Yes.
I think, you know, we can clearly see she was a beautiful mother and very, very dedicated. But who knows, you know, what could have happened when she went underground. She could have, you know, been able to continue that somehow with them, you know, in a way that wasn't seen. I'd love to share something with you, if I could,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
photo that I saved for this chat today, which was a guy called Tom Numbers. You know Tom Numbers?
Oh, well, I know Tom, yeah.
Yes, he's an American guy, and he does gematria, and he decodes numbers basically. And there was a post that was going all around the other day of a photo of a lady who was holding up a book over her face, holding her hand up, and she was in front of Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone had a cap with a Q on it. I'll just bring it up here. And she, oh, hold on. She, here it is. Sorry, I'll just reshare that one again.
Oh, that's fine.
She was holding her fingers out in a certain way. So that was interesting. And she was holding a book over her face, and Sylvester Stallone's cap had Q on it. And that was just going around everywhere. And the decode he did on this, which he did a long time before it came out just recently on Telegram and everything, was that this woman behind the book was Diana. She was holding her hands in a certain way that was a way that Diana would always wave. She'd hold her hands exactly the same way. There's many pictures of her holding her hands that way when she would wave. So that was a signal, that was a sign. They're doing all these intentionally to try and, in a gentle way, wake people up. The book that she's holding is very interesting. I'll share a picture specifically of the book that she's holding. It has the words on it. Now, again, this is all to sort of wake people up. Is it the same picture? I meant to put a different picture on. Hold on 1 second. I'll just get the other one.
Yeah, no worries.
Which is just takes me a second to share it. Okay, so it's this one here.
Thank you for this.
Oh, pleasure. Every Last Secret is the title of the book. When you do the gematria on that, it has a certain meaning. And then there was a film that came out a couple of years ago called The Green Book. When you do the gematria on the Green Book, guess what it comes up to in the same numbers? It comes up to wife.
Really?
Wife, yes. So there's all these signals that they're giving people to tell them that it is the truth. And then there was a lot more information. If you look up Tom Numbers chat with Diana, I can even send you the link if people want to go in and look at that. It's fascinating, but he goes into great depth about this. And there's things like, of course, there's the Q grave, on the island where she was buried with a big Q over it. There's all these, so many symbols. And also it's a matter, I think, of going in and just asking internally, is this true? There was a real awareness by a lot of these people that were in the public eye, that were of the light and that were working for the good. They knew the extent of the darkness that they were up against. And so I guess that their way that they could feel that they could contribute was to go underground and to work from that level to take out the darkness. And, I get a lot of energy through my body when I say that, which is a divine universal truth. If they did it in the public, tried to do it in the public eye, for example, Chester Bennington and Dave Grohl, those singers that were standing up against the traffic lights, I won't say the word, of the little ones.
Right, yes, absolutely,
yeah.
yes.
And
yes.
and it's been said that they've gone underground and working on that level too. So that was the way I think that they felt that they could make a bigger difference, and that they could really do more to take down the dark. And the dark is being taken down. I feel it, and the light that's coming down is amazing. The dark is being taken out from the planet. All the higher levels have been taken out. They're gone. There's just some of the minions that are around now. And so I feel that we're on a really positive trajectory with that.
Well, Ian said that it's less than, or just over 1% left, that we've won. It is, the ascension is going forward. Everything's good.
Yeah, it totally is. There's nothing that can stop it now. And I think the important point to remember is when God proclaims something, nobody can say, sorry, God, it's not happening.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
we just have to have trust too. When we see all this horrible stuff coming up in front of us, and there's quite a bit of fear porn and really horrible stuff, and even the things like the which is true, that the little beings in the meat, like with the big M and things like that, the stuff that we have to integrate, it has to come up in order for us to be able to move forward in a higher timeline, because we have to see it and we have to expose it, and then we have to stand up against it, and we have to make a
Yes.
different choice, you know, as a
Yeah.
collective, not that we're being part of that, but not to quietly support all this stuff that was going on underneath. And I can tell you, Jackie, that in Melbourne, where I used to live, in Australia, it always felt so heavy. The energy felt so heavy there, and apparently it's been a huge headquarters for the dark in Melbourne, Australia. It's been huge. It has
Yes.
actually,
Yeah, I heard that.
yeah, it's been the headquarters for the intelligence of the dark, you know, planetarily. And it was really, really heavy. And a few years back, you know, around the time I moved north, I just felt the energies were becoming so heavy, and I felt so energetically oppressed by the energies. You know, I really could feel it. And it wasn't anything necessarily on the surface, you know, obviously that you could see, but it was underneath, you know, it was underneath. It was the stuff going on below us. And, you
Yes.
know, that made sense to me when I realized, oh, well, all those feelings I was feeling about Melbourne and its heaviness and sort of its darkness were confirmed, you know.
They said that's why Melbourne had to be shut down so heavily, because there was so much cleaning up to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, yes.
And you would
the
never
light,
dream that, would you, of Australia? Because you think of Australia as
I
just like
know.
the land of wonderfulness. Yeah.
I know. It's a sad indictment, I must say, and you know, it's a shame to lose that wonderful image that we had. But you know, the truth is the truth, and I think that was all part of the indoctrination as well. Because when Australians themselves think of the place as being, you know, wonderful and fantastic and a haven and a sanctuary, they're not going to want to do anything to change it. So they're just going to keep the status quo. And then that supports and allows their dark to continue doing whatever they're doing, because there's absolutely no resistance or no one working against that. So, you know, there's a whole agenda behind that.
Absolutely. This has gone through my mind, so I guess it's for me to say. I watched on Sunday, I think it was. No, Saturday. Doesn't matter. There's a new film out. I don't watch much on Netflix, but this had come out and it was recommended to me. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah, I love the heading.
Have you seen that, Medyhne?
No, I haven't, but it sounds very, very attractive to watch, like very enticing.
Exactly.
Just the level of you know, going against the system and yeah, I love that wording.
So because of the mental health of everybody in the last few years, I think, you know, they made it into a film. He wrote the story, and it tells his life story and how he had to heal from all his hurt and everything. But really how short life is, and he weaves within this story about a man in Japan that he was in the army, and he was told by his commander that he had to look after his troop. They got cut off from someone else. Honestly, it's quite amazing. He keeps weaving it through the program. But in the end, 30 years, the war finished after, very few years. But because he'd gone underground, they cut away from the main group of army people, these three. But he was still shooting people. He was still underground and still thinking they were in a war, because he didn't know different. And then they were dropping leaflets all over this jungle that he was hiding in to let him know, but he thought that was a poise to get him out. And it just shows you, so 30 years, and then after, I think 29, 30 years, a young boy went into the jungle and decided he was going to look for him. He heard of this man was still there. He knew the other two with him had died. So he went in and he started calling him and said, the ambassador or whoever of Japan is worried about you, and he really wants you to show yourself. And he showed himself to him. It was just him on his own. So I guess that's why he decided then. And he come back. Oh, I'm goosing completely. He came back as a hero, absolute hero. But that just shows you he was trapped in his mind. The fear in his mind. He had 30 years of taking care of himself in the jungle, thinking there was still a war on, and he was protecting his country. And how our minds, we are responsible. So I'm very much into Ho'oponopono.
Oh, well, me too. I love the Hooponopono. It's really, really powerful. It's so good.
Absolutely. So we're clearing it for all our ancestors. But when he finally realized, that that was the truth and that he hadn't had to stay there for all those years. But that's what our mind can do to us, you know. So, yeah, the subtle art of not giving a, F is really, with Ho'oponopono, we are taking 100% responsibility for anything we hear, but we are helping clear and clean it for all our ancestors, um, for us
I,
and for our ancestors.
I,
That is why I love it, just for the mental health aspect for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. I was in Hawaii a few years ago, and the people there are very calm and peaceful. And I hear that many people there, because that's where it came from, the Ponopono,
Yes,
where they say it morning and they say it at night. And that's for a reason, because like in the morning you wake up and you set the day with a really positive, clear energy, and you go to sleep at night with that positive, clear energy. And I think that you can really feel that when you go to Hawaii and you speak to the people there, because that sort of spirituality and that heart base comes through, where they're really not angry people, because
yes,
they've focused on forgiveness. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So important.
And
Okay,
I'd
I'm
love
going to
to.
go to another
Okay.
question.
Can I just say
Okay.
something else too? I just think
Yes,
it's
yes.
so important at the moment that we recognize that we're co-creators of our realities now more than ever before. So before, in a sense, in 3D, what we did, we just coasted along without intentionally creating the reality that we wanted to be in.
Yes.
We allowed other people to have control over us and to tell us what they wanted for us to be, and we just went along with that. So now the shift in everything is for us to claim what we want, and by the way that we claim what we want is by intentionally using practices, techniques, our abilities to be co-creators, to say to the universe exactly what we want and what we accept, and then that will instantly, much quicker now than ever before, come into being. So I think that that's a really important point. I was reading a beautiful story, Jackie, about Vivian Leigh and her mother. Vivian Leigh was very, very beautiful, and not that I'm into celebrities, but she was very, very beautiful. And her mother apparently would look at the Ganges, because she was born in India and her mother was living in India, and she would look at the Ganges in the distance, and for 15 minutes every day while she was pregnant, she would say, I want the beauty of the Ganges to be in my child. I want the beauty of the Ganges to be in my child. She would say that every day for 15 minutes, and that is manifestation in action. Because I mean, gosh, Vivian Leigh was one of the most beautiful women. Not that our physical beauty is the be all and end all by any stretch. In the scheme of things, you can have beautiful people that are evil and everything, we know that, but that was just an amazing example of someone who was manifesting that in her child before her child was born.
I mean, like you say, it's with intention. So the intention was the beauty inside and out. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful. Oh, I love that story. Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
What the other thing, just before we finish on Diana, have you heard about the story that is quite relevant, well, spoken about now actually, is who she's married to now?
Oh yes, Trump. Oh, I have to edit that on my
Yes.
channel. It's all good. I
So
forgot.
what's your feeling on that?
Yes, I actually do feel that they have been married, and that one example where I can say I feel that this is the case is if you look at photos of Diana when she was really young, she looks exactly like Baron Trump. They look exactly
Yes,
the
that's what
same.
they've said.
Absolutely fascinating. And I do also, it resonates for me because as a person, Diana was attracted to sort of powerful, successful older men. You know, there was that doctor, Khan, or whatever his name was,
Yes, yes.
that she was really attracted to. That's her type. That's the type of person she resonates with and is attracted to. And Trump is very much that type of energy. So he would have the characteristics of the type of person that she would have you know, been attracted to and resonated with. And I mean, goodness, she held so much light. She would have to be in resonance with someone else who's holding a lot of light. And despite what so many people have been, you know, often brainwashed to think in our world, you know, Trump
Yes.
is here helping the Alliance and the Galactics and helping humanity to be freed, and doing an incredible job standing up. And you know, I know there's different narratives always. Part of the Black Sun is this, is that. No, he in my eyes anyway, he feels to me like he was given the position to basically help liberate the planet. He had that God-appointed role, and that he went round to, you know, Saudi Arabia, all these different countries, and they basically bowed down to him and gave him swords and presents, showing his standing in all the different communities, that he was this person that is doing what we think he's doing. And so, you know, my hat goes off to him. Wow, what an incredible being. And you know, when you look at how he speaks, sometimes in the past he hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been the slick
No.
person, but the ones that have been the slick people, you know, you look at the Obamas and the Michelle Obamas and the Barack Obamas and the Clintons and they're very slick, they're very smooth, they say the right thing, but they're dark. And then you get someone who's just brazenly says stuff, doesn't always say the right thing, but he's of the light, he's good. You know, this is all about energy and reading energy and discerning.
Thank you for that. The last one you've just spoken about, do you believe, you know, she's written a book about being me or whatever, Michelle?
Yes, right, gotcha.
Yeah. But I believe, well, I believe,
I know
or a
what you're
lot of
going to say.
people believe. Yeah, absolutely. But when you say anything like that, so I was told how mad I was the other day to even put that in a conversation. So I've got to say it now, obviously. That in fact Joan Rivers was probably, you know, that as well.
Oh,
I
100%.
don't mean to. Yeah.
She is 100% categorically, without one single question mark, one single doubt in my mind, she was born a man, a male. And she is part of that. It's that Baphomet, you know, satanic occult thing where they don't value feminine beings. They don't value females. They only value men. So they put men artificially in this place of women because they're devaluing the divine feminine. And that's all part of that satanic occult thing. And it's rife in Hollywood. So many of the you know, the actresses, quotation marks, you know, all that sort of thing. And you can tell by looking at their body structures. You look at the singer Pink and look at her abdomen and her actual body structure. she's not a female. She just isn't. So, you know, I don't care if people want to think I'm silly or stupid. That's it. I'm going to say it because I get frustrated by being censored. And in Australia, we've been really censored. So it's like, nope, I'm not doing that anymore.
Well done. Oh my goodness, well done for saying it. Oh my God, I was thinking, how am I going to say this?
I'll
But
say it
I
for
do
you.
believe it, because I've seen so many pictures and so many videos even that would make
Oh,
you think that really is the truth.
absolutely. And you look at the Obamacare, and that was actually created to do human trafficking. I mean, you look at all the things that have been in the world, you know, the Red Cross, you know, again, it's trafficking and evil. The money's going to a nefarious cause. You know, all these things that we have been promoted to be good and positive in the world have actually had a completely different agenda. But, you know, they're not silly, the dark. They're not going to say, hello, I've got this, you know, dark agenda and here I am. They're going to do everything they can to be slick
No,
and smooth and
absolutely. Yeah.
charming. You know,
God
yeah,
alive.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'll go to, what time have we got? Oh yeah, we're fine. So I'll just go to this that my friend heard the other day. And this is on gene decode.
Right, love him, yes.
Yes.
Spoken.
And he was saying, where did she actually say this? Oh yeah. Um, Aurora. So the 3D that want to stay 3D will be going to Venus. The
He said,
meridian, that's the meridian Earth that's behind ours.
right.
And oh, it's 4D. Sorry, the meridian Earth behind ours is 4D, and the Aurora 5D is what we're ascending to for those that are 5D.
Right. Well, I do agree that the beings that don't choose to go forward in the ascension will be going somewhere else. Absolutely. You know, Ian says it's Universe 368. Gene Decode, I haven't heard, says Venus. They are going somewhere else. I'm not 100% sure. I can't say categorically one or the other. I think it's really hard to put definitive things on these things. I haven't had time to actually go in and look at Venus in that respect. But you know, I really honor that they have the same concept. They're just going to different places, you know what I mean? So it's like we can't all go together if souls are choosing in free will to relearn the lessons, and that they haven't learned the lessons needed to be able to ascend to, you know, 5D and the higher levels. Then, you know, that is a choice that we must honor, and you know, there are many souls making that choice, and
We
they're
all
just
have
gonna,
a plan, a soul contract. We're all
yeah.
playing our part.
Yeah,
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 yeah, and it's hard, obviously, to see that happening with loved ones, with family members, with friends, because we want to all go together. But you know, it is about non-attachment. You know, one of the highest levels of spiritual mastery is non-attachment, and we're all being tested at the moment on releasing attachments which no longer serve us. At the moment, speaking of attachments, you know, I love food. It's nice. And I've had the last 5 days of fasting. So I'm doing it not so much for a physical, but yeah, so I've got a little bit of green juice I've got here now that I'm drinking, because I've just started on my green juice, but I've had 5 days of fasting, because you have to sort of
wow,
gradually go back into eating again. But you know, that was a thing I did for myself, because not only is it good for the body and resetting it at a physical level, but it's also spiritual mastery. So when you have attachment to food for emotional purposes, it drags you down. It's holding you back on a spiritual level, energetically. And so when you master that, you don't need food for emotional purposes. You can survive without it.
wow.
Yeah, and that you don't have to look forward to every meal for your joy, you know, that you can let go of it, and you're going to be fine. In fact, what happens is you often feel lighter. You don't feel
Yes,
encumbered. A lot of our food's got crap in it, to be honest, although
yeah,
we don't
yeah.
want to give that energy either. But you know, it's another level of mastering the spiritual growth and the evolution.
How did you cope with that? Did you get shaky? Have you been shaky? Are you having water?
Well, I've been having water, yes, yes. I had a few
Yeah.
herbal teas, I will say too, but I had water, and I said to myself that I'll continue as long as I start to feel a bit sort of weak and shaky. And actually, just a few hours ago, about 4 something hours ago, I started to feel a bit that way. I thought, okay, that's it. It's time to, introduce the juice now and go back on the juice. So that's why I'm drinking this lovely green juice, which my wonderful partner did for me. It's got, kale, spinach, celery, cucumber, all the good stuff in it. And that's just
Brilliant.
reintroducing that before I go back to solids again shortly. So yeah, very,
Oh,
very good.
wow.
You actually feel very good because you go, well, I can accomplish that. I can accomplish a lot of other things as well. It makes you feel more empowered on a soul level.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going out with a girl. I've got an evening with her tomorrow night on Zoom, Alice Heath. And I'm going out for lunch with her today. And she often does a 4-day fast. Well, I don't
Fantastic.
say often, but she said she has done the occasional 4-day fast. And even that, I was thinking, gosh, but oh gosh, I'm really thinking, hmm. I've never
It's a
done
good
that.
thing.
I mean, a day, 2 days at the most, probably, and that wasn't intentional. That was through illness.
I
So yes,
understand. Yes, yes. Well, if every person's different, and everyone has to go inward and ask, is this going to align with my body, and is it going to be good for me? And you can muscle test it even, and see if you get a yes on that. But we are being asked to release all attachments, whether it's relationships with people that we have to let go of because they have a different narrative and they maybe don't want to speak to us anymore because we have a different narrative, or whatever it is really about surrendering so much. And then that when you make that space and you surrender and let go, you allow for the new energy to come in, and you allow for these new levels of truth to come in, to fill that gap, to fill that space, higher levels of truth.
wow. The last thing I'll say today, just before we finish, if that's all right, is what about Prince, George Michael, David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, to name but a few? Where
Sure.
are your thoughts? Where are
Well,
your
I
thoughts with
think,
them?
sure. I think they say that George Michael, Prince are still here. You get different narratives on Elvis. Some say he's here, some say he's not. Not 100% on him. I will say an interesting thing, that my partner's a guitarist, and so he knows a lot about guitar and how you hold your hand when you play guitar. And so he watched Bob Joyce, who,
Oh,
many
yes,
say is
yes.
Elvis play guitar. And he said he has the same type of hands and he plays guitar the same way. And his voice is very similar. But then, other people say it's not. So, but I will say that that's what he said about how he played guitar, that it was a very similar same hand. The way he held his hand movements was the same as well. So that was really interesting. And then in terms of David Bowie, I'm not sure about David Bowie. I don't know if he's still here. I think perhaps not. He had a sort of very unusual energy that, it spoke to many people. It was quite galactic and cosmic. But, in terms of his allegiances, it's hard to pinpoint with him. There could have been some dark, I think to gain any, huge amount of fame in the way that society was set up, it would have been very, very difficult to achieve that without being part of that satanic occult, thing. So,
Yeah,
I tend to be skeptical pretty much of anyone who's had a high level of fame in that way. In
yes.
order to get there, they must have on some level been compromised or corrupted to get there. And, maybe also they were, they went and did something silly at a party and then they got filmed. But, that is a moral test, isn't it? It's a spiritual moral test. And we
Yeah.
need throughout this whole lifetime be in the highest levels of integrity that we can spiritually, because, you know, that is part of what's happening. You know, that soul growth, the evolution is us to be in our moral code, to be in integrity, and to stay strong in that, in the pressures of all the external stuff that's going on around us.
Medyhne, I've loved speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
Jackie. I
you.
really love speaking with you. It's been really joyful. Thank you so much.
Honestly, really joyful. Thank you for me as well. Yeah, like you say, we have to speak about these things, bring it into the light and move forward.
Absolutely. I'd love to chat with you again. I've had such a wonderful time.
Oh, good. Yes, please.
Yes,
Absolutely.
oh,
Oh, wonderful. I'll be in touch. Thank you
oh,
so
beautiful.
much, Medyhne.
And I love your name's White for the white hats.
Yes,
Go
absolutely.
you, Jackie. Go you.
Oh, I never thought of it like that. Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Lots of love, Medyhne.
Lots of
Have a
love. Thank
wonderful.
you.
Oh, well, you're going to bed now, I expect.
Yes.
Lots of love.
Bye.